Welcome back to Insights at DDLynn Designs, a unique twist in the ancient art of wire. So today I actually did memory lane and went back to one of the very first wraps I learned how to do. And it gives you a tremendous amount of wiggle room. Here's an example. This is a 2-inch, very old, over 70-year-old turquoise stone. And you have tons of wiggle room to decorate and do all sorts of things. I was gonna do the tutorial on this stone, but because the wire was 2.5 feet long, every time I did the tutorial, I had to get out of frame. So I'm gonna do it on a smaller stone, but I would use at least a 1-inch stone when you're first starting out in something oval. I'm gonna be doing it on a round, and that might be easy for you too. Now you need a drilled through stone to do this, and you wanna make sure before you cut your wire, get some scrap wire and make sure that your wire will fit through. So I know I'm not gonna get an 18 gauge through there, so I'm using 20 gauge. Now my stone is less than 1 inch in diameter. So what I did just to find center, because all you're gonna do is find the center of the stone. You're gonna put your wire through and center it up. So I just know that this is the middle of my wire. It's a little over 12 inches long, and then I just took my stone and set it there and said, okay, that's good. So what you're gonna do, and this is so easy, you guys, you know, wire wrapping predates the Phoenicians by 5,000 years, and 40 years ago, my mother bought this for me, and I had no idea what wire wrapping was, and a lot of people, I think, still do this. This is just a very cheap little, toolbox wire, and they would just sell these at flea markets and on street corners for $10 and $15. So anyways, but it's a very easy way to start because you have tons and tons of wiggle room. You can make all sorts of mistakes and none of it matters. So just have fun. So the easiest thing to do now is just to bend your wire. So I'm just looking at the top. So all you're going to do is bend one wire in one direction and bend the other wire in another direction. And I think this would be easier for you with an oval stone. So, you know, you might want to find a good 1 inch or 2 inch, maybe not 2 inches. This is huge, but it's also super thick. It's about a 1/2 inch thick. So now what we're gonna do is just make a loop. So I'm gonna get my sleeve up on my jacket here. And all you're gonna do is swing the wire around. You're just gonna make a loop, and you can decide on how big you want your bail. So this is not a huge stone, so I'm not gonna have a huge bail. And then all I'm gonna do is just hold the loop and swing it around. The next thing you're gonna do is connect that wire to the neck so that you can see your loop. And then you're simply going to twist. Now the wire is going on top and it's going to the right. So you need to twist in the opposite direction. So just hold very firmly, and you can leave it like this, or you can twist it all the way. And when first starting out, I think it's much easier to twist it all the way. So this is what we have. We got our wire coming out to the left and our wire coming out to the right. So now the next thing that you're going to do, and I'm going to turn this in a better working position, you're going to bring your wire from the top around the stone. And then you're going to bring this wire up and you're going to cross it over. So now I'm just going to loop this wire around, and we're just playing with the wire now. Bring it down a little bit more to follow this wire, and now I'm going to loop this wire up, and then I'm going to follow it. So we're just following. So we've got that. So now I'm just going to keep doing that. I'm going to make a loop and follow, make a loop, and I'm going to follow. And you can spread it apart as much as you want. Now I'm just going to swing these both up, and I'm going to bring them all the way over. You're just holding your stone and playing with your wire. So we have that. Look how pretty that is. Isn't that pretty? And it's so easy, you guys. You can shape your wire any way you want. So now I'm going to bring these over the back like this. Isn't that pretty? And then I'm going to twist them. So I'm just going to open them up and I'm going to twist them. Just one twist. Then I'm going to bring them, oops, I untwisted it there. Then I'm going to bring them back together over the top of the stone this way, and I'm going to bring them down towards the bottom of the stone, And then I'm going to swoop them back up, just keeping my thumb there so I can maintain the shape. And look at that. Isn't that pretty? That's just so pretty. So now all we're going to do is wrap it around the neck of the bale, and we're going to just keep scarfing it around it. And if it gets a little difficult because your wire is going to start to harden now, you can come in with your plier. You want to push your inside one first, gently and slowly, a little bit at a time, so you don't ride the wires up on each other. Then I'm just going to hold firmly and swing them around the back. And I probably could have used, the more design you do, the more wire you're going to need. So if you weren't going to come back around the front of the stone, then you wouldn't need as much wire. But because I came around the back and went up on the front of the stone again, I could see that I could probably have used a little bit more wire just to have more working wire. And all I'm doing is lining up these two wires on the neck. Then I'm going to bring this inside wire up and over. And then bring this last one around. And I'm going to tuck them in. Kind of want to lift up on this one here a little bit. There we go. I'm going to flatten it around the back. I saw that I pushed those in. So just making sure that back wire was riding over my little wire down here underneath it. So what I'm doing is just flattening it out back there a little bit. Then I'm going to bring these wires around and see what I mean by I'm almost a little short, but I'll be able to tuck it in. So I'm going to roll these. Let me cut this one because it's getting in my way. Just going to roll this in. Oops. Okay. Needle nose don't work very well when you're working off two corners of a wire. I'm anchoring off that wire itself so I can get the little one pushed in. As I mentioned, I was a little short. And I'm just going to push it in. Then I'm going to rock this one down inside the neck. Now before I cinch it off, I just want to turn around. And then I'm going to push it down inside the bale. And there we have it. Isn't that cute? Now, if you find that this is a little loose right here, mine's just a little bit loose, you can decorate. You can bring in, here's a piece of scrap wire. You can bring in weaving wire and just decorate because you've got good gap space. And so that'll keep the wire from moving. And then I'll show you another technique. So let's just quickly, isn't that cute, everybody? And it's so easy. Just use your imagination. I promise you, you cannot mess up. Just do whatever your little heart tells you. I'm looking for that weaving wire. So I'm just going to cut about 6 inches and I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to come off this one here where I've got more gap on it. And I'm just going to hold my wire down so I have something to anchor off of, a couple of quick coils. Oops, I didn't want it under there. So let's back that out. Didn't see that. And it's going to slide. I want it to slide because we're going to be connecting up here. I'm just going to put in 3 coils. But this is like, you know, a 10-minute wrap. When you're first starting out, it's going to take you longer, but I would really practice doing this because you learn a lot about the memory in the wire and how you can create different directions. So I'm going to slide this down. It's a really good way to practice, and I'm going to come up underneath these. I'm always going to look for my easiest entrance and exit, make my life easy for myself. So now all we're going to do is we're going to wrap all of these together. And I'm going to pull really tight as I'm holding on my wire and pushing it against the stone. Wow, I really pushed that down in there. And we're just adding some decoration. Let's do one more and then we'll coil off. Or we can also hide the wire if we don't want to coil off. So now I'm just going to coil off this wire here. But you could keep weaving and weaving all over this thing. It's just a really good way to practice and really learning the nature of wire. Because that's really, everything is about technique. Do I have 3? I do not. I'm going to flatten those down. Now this is on there tighter now, but I'm going to show you one more technique because I think it's really important for the back. So now all I'm going to do is snap my wire. That's a wiggle jiggle. Snaps clean off. So I wish I would have known that almost 5 years ago. What a difference it makes. You don't have to keep fighting to trying to figure out how you're going to tuck your wire in underneath these wires that are so close to your stone. So now we've just decorated a little bit more. I want that on a nice angle here. Isn't that pretty? And then on the back here, if you're concerned about this at all, that it's wiggling, all you got to do is come here where your twist is in your wire, grab both those wires and rotate your wrist to the right as you're stretching that wire across the stone. And now this thing is as snug as a bug in a rug. And there we have it, everybody. Give me your feedback. If you're just starting out, please try. It really is a great way to learn. You could bring in some beads, little sterling silver beads here. Do whatever your little heart desires. You guys all have a wonderful, magical wire wrap day. Thank you so much for being a part of the ancient art of wire. Talk to you later. Bye for now.